This is going to be basically a story time video. This is how I got stranded in Europe with no cash and basically with no place to stay by myself for 12 days. Let's talk about my original plans. So basically, I was gonna go to New York in July. So I was gonna go to New York for 4 days. One of my friends there, he was doing rotations there, and I was gonna go meet him, chill with him, you know, go around the city. Also, another friend of mine, he lives in New York, so he was also gonna take us around. So we were basically gonna be 3 guys that were gonna stay in New York for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then on the Sunday, I was gonna fly out to Texas. I was supposed to stay at a place with another friend of mine from Florida, and that was the original plan. We were gonna stay in Texas for around 12 days. You know, everything was really, really good. I did my antigen test to go to New York, and my flight left on Thursday. So I got to the airport, everything was good. I flew out, went to the hotel. By the way, New York, they don't wear masks at all, at the time at least when I went. So I went to the hotel, got a free room upgrade, which is really, really nice. Our room was very, very spacious, which was actually really, really enjoyable. And then, I met up with my friend and we ended up staying and we went around the city. And then that's when basically my journey in New York started. So the first night that I got there, I actually booked a Wagyu restaurant prior to going to New York. So in early July, which is around 28 days before going to New York, I was able to get a restaurant reservation in a restaurant called Hyun. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly. It's Hyun. So it's basically a restaurant that is unlimited Wagyu beef and it's in New York. Now they were fully booked in the whole summer, and by luck, the only day that they were available was the day that I arrived at 10 p.m. So we went to the restaurant. It was really, really, really good. We met such great servers. We had such a great time while we were there. It was just such an enjoyable experience. Got home at like midnight, 1 in the morning. It was just an amazing first day in New York. Next day, we went to the Starbucks Reserve Roastery, and that's where we got some work done in the morning. Now, this place is actually insane. You guys have probably been to a regular Starbucks, where regular baristas, regular places to stay, but this place was insane. They had a bakery, you could buy pizza from there, specialty drinks. All the drinks that are sold there are not sold at the regular Starbucks. There's only, I think, 5 or 6 roasteries in the world: Shanghai, Japan, Seattle, New York. I'm not sure where else, but I think there's another 2. I'm just not exactly sure where they are. And this was a great place, and we went here every single morning. We went here to get work done. I worked on my med school application, and Mark worked on his residency application, which was my friend that was there with me. And then after that, we'd go around, explore the city. We just had a really, really good time in that time that we were in New York. So Saturday comes around, and Saturday is the day before I'm supposed to go to Texas. My flight to Texas was at 10 a.m. in the morning, and Mark also had a flight around noon. So he was going to continue his rotations there in medical school. Rotations is essentially when you go to different hospitals and you're in internal medicine, respirology, cardiology, family medicine, pediatrics, obs and gynae. You're in different specialties, and you basically work there for a month or so, and that helps you get more familiar with the specialty, so you could apply to that after you're done medical school, and then that's essentially your specialty. So he was going to Houston regardless. Now I wasn't going to Houston. I was going to a different place called Corpus Christi. You fly to Houston and then you take another hour flight. Now the day before at 4 p.m. So my flight is at 10 a.m. on the Sunday. Right now it's Saturday, 4 p.m. I get a call from the place we're supposed to go to, and they said that they had a COVID outbreak, so all incoming flights were canceled and no one is allowed to come. So I'm scrambling because what am I supposed to do now? Because this is the big issue for me. So I call my friend in Florida that's supposed to meet up, and I tell him, yo, this happened. There's a COVID outbreak. Yo, we can't go anymore. So what are we supposed to do now? He lives in America, so he was fine. He could really just cancel his flight. They gave him a full refund, and that was fine. But for me, I need to get a PCR test before going back to Canada. Now, the PCR test takes 72 hours to come back. It's roughly 48 hours actually. But you have to do it within 72 hours of coming back. And my flight was the next day. So even if I did a PCR test then and there, I wouldn't have had it back in time in order to get back to Canada. So then I'm scrambling, and I call my dad. I'm like, yo, what should I do? And I told him, yo, I want to go to Europe because, I had this time off. I prepped everything, so I have around 11, 12 days off. And I didn't want to go back to Canada because I was like, yo, I have these time off. I may as well, use my time efficiently and, do something with it. I couldn't really go back to Canada because of the PCR test. And if I did want to go back to Canada, I would have to buy another 1 or 2 nights in the hotel, let alone buying the one-way back ticket back to Canada. I know you might think it's cheap, but I searched online, it was $600 US. So then around 6 p.m. is when I started doing my research. So I search up, I literally go on Google and I search up cheap flights to Europe. Well, actually, before I did that, I wanted to go to South Korea. So I always wanted to go to Asia, particularly South Korea, because it's a tech capital of the world. Samsung and LG, they're in South Korea, and they actually have the quickest Wi-Fi in the world, and they had a lot of cool tourist attractions for people that love technology, such as myself. So I wanted to go there. But all of Asia was basically having this thing where you fly out and you have to have 2 weeks of quarantine. Now, keep in mind, I'm fully vaccinated, so I could have basically went anywhere, but you have to abide by the country's rules and regulations for entering the country. So then literally I searched up cheap flights to Europe, and from then and there I found 2 flights. I found Paris and I found Milan. Paris was 390 Canadian dollars, which is around 300 US dollars. And then I also found Milan, which is 450 Canadian dollars, which is around 320, 330 Canadian dollars or so. So I wanted to go to Europe, and I was like, yo, I'll go to Europe for 12 days, having never traveled by myself outside of North America. I've traveled to America a lot by myself, but never outside of North America. So I was like, yo, why not embark on this journey? What do I have to lose? So before I did all that, I wanted to make sure that I got a refund for my flight to Texas. Keep in mind, Mark and I, we booked Disney Cruise. So one of the new movies that came out, Disney Cruise. No, Jungle Cruise. It's called Jungle Cruise by Disney. We booked it in advance that we were gonna watch it on the Saturday night in a movie theater near Times Square. Our showtime was at 9:30. We were really, really hungry. So we went to go eat. And right now it's around 7 p.m. We went to go eat. I didn't get a refund yet. I didn't book my new flight. And my flight to Texas is the next day at 10 a.m. And basically I had nothing booked. I had nothing ready to go, but we were really hungry. So we went to go eat. So we went to go eat, finished everything, got back to the hotel at 8:30. I got on the phone with Expedia, which is who I booked my flight with. Tried getting a refund, but I was on the phone for an hour. They said they'd call me back. We went to the movies. They called me back during the movie, but I didn't answer the movie, obviously, because I'm trying to watch the movie. And I was like, yo, they're 24 hours. I'll just call them after, no problem. Finished the movie. It's around 11:30 p.m. now. My flight the next day is at 10 a.m. So, you know, we're cutting it really, really close. So we go get food from Joe's Pizza. And then while we're doing that, Joe's Pizza is like this big pizza restaurant, by the way, in New York. So then I go get food from Joe's Pizza, we eat it, and on my way home, I'm calling Expedia. Thank God I actually do end up getting the refund. And now it's around 1 a.m. because I was on the phone with them for about an hour explaining them everything and, you know, showing them proof of everything so I can get a refund. So now it's 1 a.m. I have nothing booked for the next day, and my hotel checks out. Like, we have to check out of the hotel by 11. So again, I told you cheap flights to Europe. So I book a flight to Milan. Now the reason why I picked Milan over Paris, although Milan is $60 more expensive, Canadian, is because I wanted to go by a specific path when I went to Europe. I wanted to go to Switzerland, and I knew that if I went to Milan, that was the easiest path to Switzerland, and I wouldn't waste any days by going to Milan. But if I went to Paris, I could waste 1 full day, which honestly, I don't think it's worth the money. So that's all I booked, and it was like 2 a.m. now. My flight is the next day, and I ended up booking my flight for 6 p.m. the next day. So it's 2 a.m. the day before, and I had nothing else booked. All I had was my flight booked, but it was getting really late, so I was like, I'm gonna sleep, and then tomorrow in the morning, Mark and I will take an Uber to JFK, like John F. Kennedy International Airport, and I'll plan everything out there. So that ends up happening. Mark's flight is at 12, we get to the airport around 10, and for the whole day, I basically plan out exactly everything that I'm going to do in Europe. Keep in mind, I've never been to Europe by myself before. I've been with my family a couple times, I've been to plenty of countries in Europe, but I've never been to Europe by myself, let alone stayed in a hotel in Europe by myself. I actually didn't stay in hotels, I stayed in hostels, but we'll talk about that later. So when I got to the airport, I started trying to plan everything out. Now I couldn't check in to go into the terminal, so I was just literally sitting outside of the airport on my laptop. I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm gonna get around and where I'm gonna go. Now 3 of my friends actually were in Germany doing this summer, they're working in a summer camp there that taught English. So I messaged one of my friends, his name is Michael, and I asked him, yo, I'm coming to Europe, are you guys down to chill, are you guys down to do something? He told me they were actually in Nuremberg, which is like, it's I'd say, I don't know, 400 kilometers north of Munich. So we basically planned that we would meet up on the weekend after I got there. So it's Sunday, and I arrived in Milan on Monday, and we planned that we'd meet up on the Saturday. So what am I gonna do during this whole week, and where am I gonna go? So another friend of mine, his name is David, I called him and I asked him, yo, when you went to Europe, what did you do? How did you stay? Where did you go? He's been to Europe by himself, so he gave me basically all the in and outs of where he went. And he went to Switzerland, so he told me all about Switzerland. So that's when I was like, okay, I wanna go to Switzerland because Switzerland's gonna be freaking insane. So I was like, yo, I'm definitely going to Switzerland. So I booked a hostel in Switzerland. Now I stayed at hostels, Hostels, not hotels, the whole time while I was there. And honestly, like, hostels were literally the greatest thing when I was in Europe. Like, they are so good. Like, one of the hostels in Switzerland had like a key fob with your own lock, and they organized all the trips for you, and you know, all of them had free breakfast. Honestly, they are very, very good. If you ever go to Europe, I do recommend going to a hostel if you're by yourself or if you're with a group of guys. If you're with your family, I recommend going to a hotel, but if you're with, you know, you and your friends, girls, guys, whatever, definitely go to a hostel. You won't regret it, and they're really, really cheap. So I booked the hostel in Switzerland, and I also booked something called a U-Rail pass. Now this pass basically gives me unlimited train access while I'm in Europe, so I don't have to worry about, you know, moving between cities. All I have to do is go on the app, add a journey, so whether that's from Milan to Interlaken, which is the place I stayed in Switzerland, or Interlaken to Luxembourg, which is the place I went after. I just have to do that all in the app, and my ticket is added there. So all I have to really do is add the journey to the app, and then I basically use that as a ticket, and I can go on the trains that are scheduled for that specific day. So after I booked the hostel in Switzerland and I figure out exactly exactly where I'm going in Switzerland. Keep in mind, I don't know where I'm going after Switzerland. All I have booked is the Euro pass and the hostel. It's around 3 p.m. now, so I need to go check into my flight. So I go check in. Thank God I didn't need a COVID test in order to go to Europe. Although online it said you did need one. They let me go through, I don't know how, with my fully vaccinated, I was vaccinated by Pfizer, so I showed them that I was fully vaccinated and they let me go through. I don't know how, but I'm not asking any questions. So I got in through the airport. I got in and I stayed in the lounge, and the lounge was really, really nice. And then I took off and everything, and I landed in Milan around 9 a.m. on the Monday. So then I went to the train station. I took a train from the airport to the train station. Now I don't have a SIM card, I don't have cash, I don't have like euros, and I also don't have the DC power outlet, so the direct current that goes into the wall, like the bricks that you have. Like, like these bricks right here, I don't have the European one. I only have the American and Canadian one because I wasn't planning on going to Europe. So that was kind of a big issue for me. So when I got to the train station, I had a train booked on the Euro pass at 11 a.m. So I was like, perfect, I'm gonna get to the train. I'm in a train station around 10 a.m. I have an hour to kill. Now, I had to reserve in advance. So on the Euro pass, there are some high-speed trains that you need to reserve a seat in advance. Now, you're allowed to go on them for free, but you just need to reserve in advance. But for some reason, it wasn't letting me reserve on my phone, on my laptop, on my iPad, on anything. It wasn't letting me reserve while I was going online. I couldn't figure it out. So I was like, I'll get there at 10 a.m. and then I'll go talk to one of the people in the counters. So I go wait in line, I'm waiting. And then I go talk to the lady and she says it's fully booked. There's nothing we could do even if you have the pass. So I'm like, oh man, this literally sucks. What am I supposed to do now? And she said the next train you could take is a city train, which is much slower, and it departs at around 3 p.m. So I have to literally stay in the train station now for 4 hours doing absolutely nothing with no Wi-Fi. Now, I had no Wi-Fi because I tried connecting to the Wi-Fi of the Milan train station. But you need to put in your phone number in order for them to send you a code to use the Wi-Fi. But I had no SIM card, so how the heck was I supposed to use Wi-Fi without a SIM card? So I was literally standing there trying to use Zara Wi-Fi. There was a Zara in the Milan train station, and I was trying to use that Wi-Fi. It was really, really bad, and it would take forever to load, but it ended up working out, which was nice. But I had no charger for my phone, so my phone was gonna die soon. I had no cash. All I had was literally like a credit card, my phone that was gonna die, and barely usable Wi-Fi for 4 hours straight. And I couldn't book anything in advance. I couldn't do anything with which countries I was going to because my Wi-Fi sucked, so I couldn't plan anything. All I had was literally, I'm going to Switzerland, and then once I got to the hostel, I had nothing else booked. So I got to the hostel around 7 p.m. I took the train, everything was good. Fell asleep on the train as well. Some guy randomly waked me up and told me, yo, did you miss your stop? And thank God I didn't miss my stop. Anyways, everything ended up working out. Now I had 2 big bags with me. I had a really big bag, those big luggage bags that you check into the airport. I had one of those bags and I had a carry-on because I wasn't planning on going to Europe. I was planning on going to Texas and bringing things back from Texas for my friends from there. That's why I had the big bag, and it was essentially empty. So what sucked is that everywhere I went, all the countries I went to, I had to take the big bag with me, and I had to take the small bag with me, and my backpack. So it was just so many things that were going on at once. It was a big hassle, especially on the trains. So I got to Switzerland, checked in, met my roommates. There's 2 people from Laos, Laos. I've never met anybody from there before, but they were really, really kind and genuine. Went to dinner with them that night. We walked around the city in Old Town, which is really, really nice as well. Now, the scenery in Switzerland and the places I went to was amazing. There was mountains all over. The community was just so nice. Everyone there was so kind, and everything was basically walking distance. Now, I was planning on staying in Interlaken for 3 days. So 2 nights, 3 days. And I wanted to go skydiving there. I know this probably might sound crazy. I didn't tell my mom, but I wanted to go skydiving there. And I only told her after I went skydiving. So I planned everything in advance that I would go to Interlaken and I would book skydiving while I was there. So the next morning, I saw on the weather app that the day I wanted to go skydiving was gonna be raining, and I knew that if it's raining, they're not gonna let you go skydiving. The next morning was Tuesday, and I wanted to go skydiving on the Wednesday. So Tuesday, I woke up at 8 a.m. and I go to the front of the hostel, the counter where you check in and everything, and I told them, yo, I want to book skydiving for today instead of tomorrow. And they said, okay, we can book you for 9 a.m. It's like 8 a.m. right now, 8:15 a.m. So I booked, paid for 9 a.m., went, showered, ate breakfast. Next thing you know, I was on my way to skydiving. Met 2 people on my way. Some guy, he's from South Korea, not North Korea, thank God. He works as an engineer and he has a PhD in light physics. Absolutely crazy, such a great guy, and I stayed with him the whole day. After skydiving, we went to something called like the tallest part in Europe. I have no idea how to pronounce it. Let me search it up. Jungfrau. I think it's pronounced Jungfrau, Jungfrau. So after skydiving, we went there. He had a car, so he took us around and we took the train, we went up. It was just a great experience. I definitely have clips that I'm gonna include here in the video, so feel free to take a look. I also met another girl, her name was Anne. She's from America and she's doing marketing here in France. So she was in France and she was visiting Switzerland just for the week, and she was just enjoying her time. So it's really nice, and you meet so many great people. Went skydiving. I backflipped actually out of the plane because it's my second time skydiving. So I asked the instructor, I was like, yo, can we like backflip? Can we do anything cool? He's like, yeah, let's backflip out of the plane. So we full out like backflipped out of the plane, and the Switzerland skydive was really high up. It was higher than the one that I did in Toronto, which is why I did it. But it was super cold because we were like really high up in the mountains, and there was like snow. Like when I went to the highest part in Europe with the guy from South Korea, it was snowing there, like literally snowing there. If you check out my Instagram, you'll see that I have a picture, and in the picture there is literally snow coming out of it. So I got back to the hotel and I was like, yo, I did everything I want to do. Let's go on to the next country. Wednesday morning, I was like, yo, I'm going to Luxembourg. So I went to Luxembourg. So I went like northwest of Interlaken. Went to Luxembourg, met great people there as well, stayed in a hostel. Some guy from Netherlands, I met him there. He's a clinical psychologist. He wrote a book, spent the whole day with him. You know, we went touring in museums. Everything was actually really cheap in terms of tourism. The most expensive things I'd say were the flight back, which I'm going to talk about later, and dinner. Dinner in Switzerland was really expensive, around like 50 euros, which is like absolutely crazy to think about. Met another guy from Bulgaria in Luxembourg, and Luxembourg is a very rich country. So then the next day on the Friday, I went to Munich, Germany, and this is where I met my friends that were actually working in the camp in Nuremberg. We met up in Munich, and they came with all their friends from the camp. Now they were coming to Munich so that they could basically stay there for the night, but in the morning they were gonna go a bit south to other mountains in Germany. Now I wasn't really down to go to mountains again because I was just in Interlaken, Switzerland, so I didn't want to go to mountains again. So I was like, yo, I'm gonna do my own thing during the day, and we'll have a good time at night. You know, we'll go eat, we'll go to a bunch of cool places at night, and we'll do that all together. So on the day that I got there, we all just got there on the same day. We went to go out to eat together. We had a great time. Slept, woke up, and I met also great people in my hostel as well. One guy, he's a photographer. I met another guy from America. Two people actually, I met them from Germany. You know, they were just really nice, and they told me exactly where to go in Munich to get really good food. And I would get around in Germany using an electric scooter. These things are really cheap. Like I went like 8 kilometers and I paid like 4 euros. Your first like 3 rides are free. Like definitely, if you ever travel to Europe, try to find places that have free scooters. And this is basically how I got around, essentially free of charge, because like 2 or 3 euros is very cheap for, you know, going 10 kilometers or so. So on the Saturday, I went to the Bmw Museum. I did a full tour of the Bmw Museum with a guided tour. Cost me like 7 euros for everything, because if you're a student in Europe, you get a discount of a bunch of things. I think it costs like 15 euros usually, and it cost me 7 euros. So I did the full Bmw Museum tour with another guy. You know, the tour was in English, and we were only 2 people that were part of the tour. So the actual tour guide was like explaining everything to me, and he, you know, all the questions he like knew the answer for. And it was around 1 hour long. And I got to the BMW Museum again through the electric scooter. Then after the BMW Museum, I went to a World War II aircraft museum. Now I love World War II stuff. I like a lot of history, so that's kind of why I went there. And I basically spent the rest of my day touring. And that was like kind of the only day I guess I spent by myself without meeting anybody else. Except at night, I chilled with my friends again that I told you from Germany. We went to go eat out. We went to some cool like pub. It was just a really good time. We got home at like 1 in the morning. It was a really great experience. Next day, went to Prague, Czech Republic. Same thing, met a really cool guy from France, another person from Australia, another guy from America actually. He was born in 2003, so he's 2 years younger than me, and he was doing the same thing as me, except 2 years younger, which is like insane to think about. I went to a Russian Soviet bunker, I went to underground caves, I went to the oldest library in Europe, and then after that, 2 days later, again, I went to Poland. I went to Krakow, Poland, which is where I did a salt mine tour 100 meters underground, spent the whole day with someone I met from England. He is 1 year younger than me, he's 2002, and he owns some car detailing company. Anyways, that's beside the point, but we went to a salt mine tour 100 meters underground, and then we also went to Auschwitz. This was just a really enlightening experience for me, because I've seen all of what happened basically with Auschwitz and Birkenau through movies, but I haven't actually witnessed it in real life. So it was just a really crazy experience to be there actually where everything took place. And then after that, I basically flew back to Canada, and that was basically my trip. And then when I came back to Canada after 2 days, I went to Mexico with my friends, but that is a fully different story. And if you guys want to hear more about that story, let me know. I do have clips from that story. Obviously, I did get my COVID test before coming back to Canada, which was like a story in itself of how I got it and where I went to, and getting my flight back to Canada, and how it was super expensive because I booked last minute, because I had to book a one-way flight to Europe, but I didn't know where I was coming back from because I had nothing booked at all. So the countries that I went to were Italy, because I flew to Milan, and then Switzerland, and then Luxembourg, and then Germany, and then Czech Republic, and then Poland. Now, technically, when I took the train from Switzerland to Luxembourg, I stopped in France for 2 hours, but I'm not gonna count that. Basically, I went to 6 countries in 12 days. It was such a crazy experience, but definitely something that I really enjoyed. And there was a lot of periods where I was like, why am I doing this to myself? I literally hate this, but it was such a really good experience. I'm really glad I did it, because I did meet such great people. And I even got to play ping pong while I was in Netherlands. I played ping pong with the guy that I met there. His name was Metz. He's from Netherlands, like I told you, the clinical psychologist. I got to play ping pong with him, which was really fun, and it was such a great experience, and I'm really glad I got to go on that trip. Now I'm hoping that I could do another trip like this to Asia in the future. I want to go to South Korea, Japan, China, and Singapore. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't know when I'm able to do that based on COVID restrictions. I really hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I really hope you enjoyed the experience and the story. Let me know what was your favorite part of the story, and if you want to hear more about a specific country, let me know. I have way more stories to tell you. Like, this doesn't do any justice to what happened while I was in Europe. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care and take it easy.